Morning,
This
everyone.
conference will now be recorded.
Good morning, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Town of Ocean Ridge Planning and Zoning meeting, December 17, 2024. Roll call, please.
Member Corrala?
Here.
Member DeBaptiste?
Here.
Member Siggety?
Here.
Vice Chair Khalil?
Here.
And Chair Berber.
Here. Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Amen. Okay, I'd like to open it up to the meeting to public comment, please.
This is regarding 44 or just?
No.
No, not at this point. Just general public comment. Seeing no comment, let's move forward. Approval of the minutes.
So moved.
Seconded.
And I have a correction.
Okay.
I misspoke when I said A1A is needed for pedestrian walkway signage. It really should be Old Ocean, as someone brought up to me.
Let me know when that's out.
That is under commissioner comments, first sentence.
And you wanted that changed to, I'm sorry, say it one more time.
Old
Old
Ocean.
Got it.
Amend the motion to accept the change.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved. Okay, we are going to quasi judicial hearing on 44 Bimini Cove Drive, right? Town clerk, can you read the agenda item indicating this is a quasi judicial hearing, please?
This is a quasi judicial hearing regarding the development plan review for 44 Bimini Cove.
Right. So we have up here, if anyone's spoken to anyone, we're going to talk about this time any ex parte communication should either be disclosed by identifying the subject of the communication and the identity of the person, group, or entity with whom communication took place, or any correspondence be provided to the town clerk and made part of the public record. In addition, each member of the commission may identify the existence of any investigation or site visits he or she has conducted or any expert opinions received and disclose any conflict of interest on this matter. Anything from the commission? No. Thank you. We will then proceed with the hearing of this matter. Will the town clerk please swear on the witnesses?
Anyone wishing to speak on this item, please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? When you are called forward, please state your name and address clearly for the record and whether or not you have been sworn in, and please speak directly into the microphone.
Great. The town staff will make its presentation. We'll start with the town planner, Corey, please.
Good morning, Chair, board members. Corey Norman, Town Planner. This is development plan review for a new home at 44 Bimini Cove Drive. The home includes 2 stories, 5 bedrooms, 5 baths, 3 half baths, 2-car garage, carport, pool, spa, and pool deck. The plans have been reviewed by town staff. The plan review report and memo from the town engineer are attached. The recommendation is for approval subject to conditions that are outlined in the attachments, as well as subject to review by the Planning and Zoning Board for the requirements of the development plan review, which are also outlined in the staff report. I would point out that in the plan review report, one of the conditions of approval regarding revision to the application has been addressed. The other comments as conditions of approval and those in the town engineer's report would be conditions of approval for your consideration. That concludes our report. We're happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions? Commissioner?
I do. There's no changes from what this initial report was, or there are changes?
The only change is that the applicant provides the application to address one comment that is on the first page of the plan review report, indicating that public sewer is not available.
Okay.
It was a minor typographical.
Gotcha.
Any other comments? Okay. The town engineer. Any report, please, Dara?
I reviewed all the documents. The only thing that stands out to me is that there are landscape conflicts that remain, and I think we need to have a face-to-face meeting to resolve them.
What kind of
Yeah,
conflict?
can you give us a little further color on that?
So if you go to the landscape plan. Next one. So you can see it's very busy, and I can try to explain. So if you go to the driveway off of Bimini, and then go to your right, there's an inlet there that you can't really see, but it's within all of that landscape. So that's the problem. Like, that's just one example of a couple of problems.
What's the
There's too much,
problem?
yeah, there's too much landscape where the inlet would be.
Yeah.
You need a bit more exposed so it can serve its purpose.
Yeah, we don't want like plants on top of pipes or on top of cleanouts, catch basins, and the exfiltration. I mean, they did come back and resolve some of the comments, but they're just like a few that I feel like we need to discuss.
Oh, we're here
That
to
are either
approve
not
it, so, I mean, what's
I mean,
the,
I can bring you over to my highlighted plan, but I'm gonna be.
did
really
you have
hard
the chance
show
to
you
talk to
that.
them yet?
No, because this was like there's they're not understanding some of the things I'm asking.
Okay, so you've already talked to them, you told them what you wanted, and they haven't addressed it yet.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Zoning official Manny, please.
Manny Palacio, zoning officer for the town of Ocean Ridge. I reviewed the submitted plans for the property. The calculations and measurements do meet the requirements and restrictions for zoning. I submitted a calculation sheet showing my numbers. My numbers, majority of the time, don't necessarily concur with what they have, and that's only because I still use that route. But in essence, they do meet the zoning requirements and restrictions.
Thank you. Any questions? Thank you very much. Okay, great. Let's move to the applicant, please.
Hello, good morning. I'm Felicia O'Neill. I'm with Affinity Architects, and we're here to present our home. And so 44 Bimini Cove. It's been strategically placed on the site for us to take advantage of the intracoastal site views. As you can see, if you go to the next slide, this is our location on the Google Maps. And then the next slide the different homes around the area. We have 2-story and 1-story homes, which coincide with how our design is. Our design is 1-story and then leading up to a 2-story. Next slide. I'll maybe go back to the other PDF, has more.
Of course.
I think the one that you were just on had all the. No, the one that had all the calculations, when you went down to see the landscape, it was on that one.
That's not your PowerPoint presentation.
The PowerPoint was in there.
Very last middle.
Can you open the PDF that you had for the previous presenters? Yeah. Yeah, that one. If you just scroll down to where, yeah, the end of that. Yeah, so you can go up. So here, I just want to present this slide, and that shows us how we've tried to maximize the views down the Intracoastal. And that was our reasoning to the position of the home on the site. We also wanted the house set far back from the road so that we could provide ample green space as we are on a cul-de-sac, expanding that cul-de-sac view along with the neighbors. Next slide. And then here again, the neighboring buildings on the side go down. Yeah, I just wanted to point out the material use. We strategically used a minimal material palette. We wanted to highlight all the forms and proportions that are true to the modern architectural style. Next slide. So we have our renderings at the end. So here, if you go down, then you'll see, so it's the front elevation rendering. We have a carport on the ground floor. We have a 2-car garage. Above the car garage, we have the office space with a half bath. And then our entry point is in the middle where we see the overhang exceeding out. We have 1 bedroom on the ground floor and 4 bedrooms on the upper floor. Scroll down. This is our rear. We're maximizing the views, as I said, so you can see that angle and that side leading down in the Intracoastal. To the right. There's another view where you can see the carport. We are also hiding all of the mechanical equipment on the sides of the house so that you can't see anything from the cul-de-sac or from the Intracoastal. Does anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Sorry.
Would you like to come up?
She's with landscape.
Oh, good.
You bring that, come on up too, please. Thank you.
So my name is Kelsey Boyd. I'm a project manager at PLA Design Studio. If you could please go to the slide that indicates the zoning coverages. It's the first one of the PLA landscape sheets. It's labeled as the GSM1, the green space map. A bit further, please. I believe it's 2 right above the landscape. The portion of our other side, right?
Are you looking for L1?
It's the GSM1.
So there's L1.
Mhm.
There's L1 and L2.
Mhm. It should be right above L1. It's a portion of the PDF that we submitted with our PDF document.
Can you just continue?
We can. I had just wanted to highlight the fact that we are meeting the coverage requirements for the green space. So minimum is 35%, and our plans are providing 46.3% overall. So we are exceeding our green space requirements. As far as the landscape itself, L1, that first sheet. Yes, this sheet. I just wanted to highlight that we are removing trees from the site, so it's a mixture of Florida-friendly and non-native trees, and then we will be proposing additional plants in order to mitigate these replacements. So if you could please scroll to sheet L2, we can talk in more depth about the landscape itself. And I believe we should probably start at the front of the property, if you wouldn't mind to zoom in a little. So at the driveway, as we were discussing earlier, there is landscape here that we're using in order to help create some hierarchy between the house and the road. So we are using a mixture of native trees and Florida-friendly trees in order to sort of soften the architecture and provide landscaping in alignment with the goals of the city. So the overall items on our list were to create a tropical landscape using a hierarchy of trees and palms. So some of the large signature trees that we're using, that you can see in the plans flanking the driveway, are the gumbo limbo trees. So these are natives. And then we do have site walls that we have set back into the property. And we're using a mixture of hedging and lower level palms in order to soften that wall from the street view. As you move further into the property, along the driveway, we have a mixture of curved coconuts and some other natives like the Phrynax radiata, which is a native of Florida, but we are maintaining this sod area for the drain field you can see here to the right of the house. As we get a little closer to the house itself, we are using levels of tropical ficus green island mixed with liriope and some Sanchesia. So these are all being used to create different layers along the facade. As we move towards the rear of the property, we are using the same design language, but we start to open up when you start getting next to the water view, so we can really maximize that view from the house. And then we are trying to strategically use a variety of sod and planting areas close to the house to provide the family with, usable lawn space. We do have in the rear a putting green towards the left of the property, and then in order to soften the house view from the adjacent sides, We are using some coconut trees as well as gumbo limbos mixed in with areca palms with some lower level landscaping along that left-hand side of the plans. As you move a little closer to the front, you can see we do have some equipment areas that we're screening here to make sure that the neighbors don't receive any, unwanted service views from their portion of their lot. And then moving closer towards the front, back around to the covered carport area, we're creating a pretty dense hedge here in order to help the neighbors, with screening on their side. There are some existing adjacent Christmas palms on their property, which help us work in conjunction for screening. You'll notice in the plans that there is a red dashed line and some red clouds. We're introducing root barriers in areas where we're, getting pretty close to some of the piping that was being mentioned earlier. Most of the inlets are in sod, but I do see the one that you mentioned that was being in landscape, so we can certainly address that. That is the overall idea for this sheet. If you want to scroll to the next sheet, I can talk quickly about some of the specifications that we use in our plans. So on the previous sheet, you'll notice that we have codes in conjunction with numbers. So this plan is the detailed list of what all of those species are. So on the left-hand side, they have our code. And then, for example, I was mentioning gumbo limbos earlier. So we're putting those in at 16 feet high, and then we go on to describe their native, the container size that we're putting them in, as well as the height, spread, caliper, and then the specific remarks that are being used for each plant. So we do that for all the plants that are listed in our plans. And then the bottom portion of this page is dedicated to our typical notes, which describe that, we want all plant material to be Florida grade number 1 or better, and how to protect the plants during and after installation. This last page of our presentation is the maybe not as fun page, but it's all of our specifications that we use to kind of cover us.
I read that.
Good. That's what we like to hear. And that concludes our portion of the presentation.
Thank you very much. Any comments?
How do you intend to address what, you said you would address it, so how would you intend to address it?
Looking at the area that she was mentioning earlier, we are directly next to that sod area that's contiguous with where the drain field is. I would just pull the landscaping back further. That way we just have that inlet in sod. I wouldn't have any sort of shrubs around it.
Okay.
We have enough space here. We're pretty far away from that site wall that I was mentioning earlier. So I think we can pull that back without hindering, the overall tropical feeling of the plants, and, maintain a clear zone. If there's a minimum clear zone that you would like to see, we can do that as well.
Yeah, we can discuss it, but it's 5 feet from on big trees, it's 5 feet from like the root ball, and with a barrier. Typically.
What you've noted in your December 5 notation, right? So
I mean, not the details, but yes.
yes, you noted what you're talking about here, right? Okay.
It does look to me like it's 5 feet, and we do have a root barrier proposed in this particular set. So the only thing I think to help address that would be to pull some of that lower level shrubing back.
Okay.
Can I answer any further questions?
Any further questions? Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Any further presentation by the applicant? Okay, great. I'd like to open up the public comment. Please remember you limit your comments to 3 minutes. Floor is open.
I'll go first, okay. So I'm Mark Pocklov, I'm at 42 Bimini Cove.
Okay.
I've spoken with some of my neighbors. I've got a couple questions, and I don't know how, is it Some
You
of
can
them are
ask, yeah, you can
landscaping.
ask the
Okay.
applicant. yes.
Okay, all right, okay. So on the landscaping front, you mentioned 46.3 green space. Does that include or not include artificial turf?
There is no artificial turf in the front.
Yes, there's none in the front. We are using sod.
And in the back?
In the back for the putting green.
Okay,
Yeah.
so does the 46 include or not include the artificial turf? Is that considered green or not green?
That's
question.
not green.
Okay, all right, okay.
It is pervious space
Yeah.
though,
Yeah.
so
No,
it
it
will
is.
percolate through.
Then, what about the large tree that's on the northeast side? Is that staying or going?
So that is a large Hong Kong orchid tree that is going. So the trees within our property will be getting removed.
Okay. And how much of the hedge that exists on both adjacent to 43 and 45?
So we are only removing the portion of the hedge that is touching our property. There is a portion along the side closest to the waterway that we won't be touching because that's primarily not on our property, it's on the adjacent.
The Clusia. The Clusia is part of Canes and the ficus is part of 44.
Yes, and there's also a podocarpus hedge on the adjacent property, which will be staying. So it's a double layered situation, so we'll only be removing ours.
Okay, basically you're clearing everything.
It's getting cleared.
Yeah, I just want to add one comment.
You've got to, please, if you're going to speak, you have to come up and
I can
say
share.
who you are.
Okay.
And we
Can I
just
do
can't.
it in here? Do you want me to come up?
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, Brian Grossberg with Azure Development. I'm going to be the builder for the home.
Okay.
Located in Delray Beach. So I just wanted to add one comment. The issue with maintaining trees on our property and not removing them as part of the demolition, the grade is so low on the property that we actually have to build retaining walls in order to meet current FEMA guidelines. And in order to meet the current FEMA guidelines, we have to bring in so much fill. And as part of bringing in that fill and building these retaining walls, if you keep any trees, you're just going to choke the root system. Because by bringing in all that fill and dumping it on top of existing trees, they're never going to survive. So the reality is, unfortunately, as much as we'd like to save more landscaping, you just can't with the current FEMA guidelines. I mean, homes today, a new FEMA map is going to be approved in the next couple of weeks here. That homes are going to be built at 9+ feet in ABD. So we're bringing in, 2-3 feet of fill. If you put that on top of any existing root system, the trees are never going to survive. So it's unfortunate, but you really can't maintain existing landscaping with today's FEMA guidelines.
Okay, interesting. I just noticed that there's another house at 69 that was totally demoed and is being rebuilt. They kept the palms, so that's why I asked. So you brought up the point of base level. So what is the current grade and how many feet of fill are you gonna have to put in? And then what's gonna be the top of the roof in relationship to the two homes next, the two adjacent homes?
Yeah, Felicia has that information in front of her, so I'll let her answer that. But I will tell you, the grade in front of the property is not going to be substantially increased because you need to pitch the driveway to work.
Right.
So we can't really bring in much fill from the front. It's more along the sides as the home starts to be constructed, heading into the rear of the home. But Felicia has the exact NABD heights, and I'll let her answer that.
Hi, so existing right now, we're at 3.8,
Okay,
and that's at the front entry,
okay,
more or less.
similar to mine.
Yeah, and then we're gonna have to raise it up to 10
Mhm.
due to the FEMA regulations.
And then, so the base is gonna be 10, and then how much is the house?
So the house for finished floor is
Then the
gonna be
finished floor at
10,
the top of roof.
and then to top of roof. We are at 26.8. Sorry, 26.2,
Okay,
and that's to the top of the parapet.
okay, yeah. So there's gonna be retaining walls on the side, but nothing in the front.
Nothing in the front.
Okay, some,
The-
you've
it's
seen
gonna
some,
grade up.
but, one in the front and.
There'll be a little sidewall, but we're not putting fill behind it. It's not raising the grade in that location, because we want to, slow pitch.
The site also naturally does slope from the cul-de-sac road up to the middle.
So I noticed when I reviewed, there was no septic tank mentioned, but it sounds like the drain field's been put in. So is everything on the west-hand side?
Everything is on the east.
Oh, on the east, okay.
I believe it is.
It's on the
It is the west.
Yeah.
So adjacent to 45.
Yes, correct.
Then I guess the last is clarification on the square footage. So when I look at the calculations, and this is maybe just how it's done, I see first floor under AC, second floor under AC, so total under AC is 5059. And then in the meeting request, it talks about 6027.
So with all the rules of Ocean Ridge,
So that includes part of the garage and,
yes.
okay.
Yeah.
So that's the difference.
That's
Lot
including garage and
coverage,
covered loggia.
Yeah,
Okay.
not the top. But that's it.
And then this might be a question for, I guess, the town planner, or I talked a little bit to Kelly about this. So one of my huge concerns is, vehicles during the construction process. Because I've lost a curb, a Robolini, a mailbox. It's a very popular spot to turn around. And it's tight as it is for some of these vehicles. And if there's construction vehicles, it's only gonna be worse. So I understand they're allowed two, but two won't fit in that part of the cul-de-sac. So I wanna understand what's the parking plan? Are they building a driveway, or at what point does that get discussed and approved?
Actually, I do think that's gonna be a question for Kelly. I know that the building official will often address that, but there's gonna be a pre-construction meeting to talk about parking. And Kelly, do you want to try to address that?
Sure. Like I told you before, there are allowed two. If they cannot accommodate two, then they have to find other accommodations. When we have our pre-construction meeting, we'll go over that. They can do up to two in the front and the right of way. Everything else either has to be parked on the property, or they have to find alternate staging area. Whether it be at, the parks, or they carpool in somewhere out of.
And the contractor enters into an agreement, by the way, to follow a number of rules and regulations, which available, I'm sure Kelly can show it to you as well. The contractor and the homeowner sign it, both sign it. And it's, it holds them to a pretty high standard.
We've built in Ocean Ridge before. We're very familiar with the process. We will be putting down crushed rock at the entire onset of the property itself, so that most of our subcontractors can pull on site and park on site. There is a considerable amount of open space in front of the foundation for this house, because the house is set pretty far back, especially on the left-hand side. So we envision putting down crushed rock before starting construction and having vehicles park on site.
Okay, good, thanks. I mean, I appreciate those rules, but I've lived through when there's been 6 vehicles and they're blocking because of deliveries and.
And before we commence construction, our project managers will give you their business card, so if you have any issue or anything, feel free to reach out to them, with parking or damage or anything, we'll take care of it.
And part of the handbook that everybody signs when they start the construction states that the builder will contact all the surrounding homes and introduce themselves, give them a letter, let them know what's going on. So that way they knew who to contact if there's any issues. And just so you are aware, we do have a new code enforcement gentleman that does go around now, and he has been on top of those construction issues.
Yeah, that's even, okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comments.
Thanks.
Any other public comment?
Good morning, Kenneth Mudd. I'm at 41 Bimini Cove Drive. And I received this letter the other day, and I was looking through some of the issues, and it's a very beautiful house. I can say that. It definitely looks good. So, but I do have some concerns as far as from what I've been there. We've had some drainage issues, and I'm sure probably some of you are aware of it. are you familiar, are you really familiar with what's happening out in Bimini Cove there? So, okay, well, since I've been there for like 16 years, you know, we've had numerous times where you couldn't get vehicles in and out of the street. I had a Mercedes and there was times I couldn't get in and out, so I had to get a pickup truck. So that's one of my concerns. But I think ultimately, the system I don't think is capable of handling additional drainage the way I've seen. There's been some problems because that one culvert that's across from my house that goes out to the canal, there's been problems with that, and they've tried to clean it out, and they said it's been full of roots and there's been damage and things like that. And I don't ever think that's really been corrected enough because we're still having drainage issues. And, you know, as part of that, I noticed, and we discussed in the past, when the person at 47 was there, he was involved with the drainage issues. And he was telling me some of the things that were going on. And there actually is shown on these plans, drainage easement for utilities where there was probably supposed to be an inlet between this house and the property right to the west. So I would think that everybody ever look at any review to find out about this increased drainage and possibly putting in an additional inlet, because we've already got problems, and any more drainage into the system is possibly going to cause flooding in some of these lower level houses.
Well, can we, like to have, Tara, if you could talk about that, because the retaining water on site is a big part of all these applications today, right? And frankly, I think they're doing a pretty good job of that, but can you speak to I think you've got two issues. You're retaining water, making sure the new home is retaining water on site, and then you've got a drainage easement, a drainage problem, which is, that's a town problem.
Right.
Right, we're not here to talk about. We're glad to hear about it. The town manager should know about it. We have a commissioner in the audience as well, who, must be aware of it. Thank you for making everyone further aware of it. But yes, there's areas in the town where there are drainage issues.
Right, and I just wanted, make aware, because I don't think it's really been looked at.
Okay.
In this house, it is going to be putting additional drainage into the system that is not having the capacity.
All drainage has to be stored on site.
Stored on site. You can't go
We
in.
have exfiltration trenches being built.
Question the way they're doing all that fill, that water's going to come.
Okay, it's all been done by a civil engineer with all drainage, all the calculations showing everything being retained on site, and it's being reviewed by the town engineer as well. So we're gonna have no runoff from this site. I mean, that's why we're doing massive, tens and tens of thousands of dollars of exfiltration is being put into the site with field drains and piping so that none of that drainage comes off the site. We can't get a building permit from the town without it, so.
Well, I don't think it was ever looked at, because
Why don't you?
this Hotbox property here is wet all the time, where it's always continually flowing out into the street and coming down through the curb across the front of my property from this and, the next door
The
property.
new building requirements seek to address that problem, right? And I think they do a pretty good job. Would you?
Yeah.
Well, all right, I was just gonna say, because I was gonna say, a lot of times this off-site drainage issues get overlooked.
Yes.
It is part of state law that you're not allowed to impact new development, impact the existing properties. And I think, maybe not mine, but I think a couple of neighbors have serious concerns, and there's definitely not enough drainage in this, and this is only gonna exacerbate the problem, so.
So there is an engineer and they're over proposing their exfiltration. So there is enough exfiltration. Obviously, we hold the first inch. So if we have a really big storm, there will be stuff that goes off site and there's not much we can, that's everybody's property. I did see there's a drainage easement to the west of the property between 44 and 45, but there's no pipe. So I don't know I'd have to review the Bimini Cove grades and where everything is going, but there's an easement with no outfall. So this is something that we may want to look into, since there's going to be construction anyway.
Through that whole section, there are easements like that with no pipes.
No.
So we just
usually
have-
There's a pipe.
there's
It
just-
says no pipe.
Well, no, there's a lot of places in there that do not have a pipe but there is a drainage easement. I mean, that's pretty common in that area. Not every place has a pipe.
Okay, but it sounds like this. place
Doesn't mean
might
it
need a pipe.
can't have it, might need it. That's,
Wouldn't allow
you know,
Drain.
Well, the runoff would be.
So we have worked with other properties that if they're putting in a new house and there's an easement, either getting an easement for something that's there, or in this case, we might want to put in an outfall.
I think it's worth looking into.
I just had one more little thing.
Thank you. Yes.
We had meetings on this.
Can you come up to the podium, please?
We had meetings about this before, and the town looked into solving some of these issues. And part of the plan was that Clara Caldwell, who used to own this property, was aware of that easement. And she said at one time there was a plan to put one in there. And for some reason, that for, I guess, I don't know if it was costs or whatever, or there was no buildings or something, they didn't put it in. But she said she was willing to have them go ahead and put it in at the time, last time before. And the town looked into it and just decided not to do it.
Okay.
So.
Thank you. Any further public comment?
I have just a question. It
Come
sounds
up to
like,
the
Please come to
podium.
the microphone.
it sounds like you've got all the calculations and that's great. I appreciate it. I have a question. Did the building codes change since Smiths built their house at 54? Because there's runoff issues there. They've got the retaining
What
walls.
year was it built?
Well, it was finished, it took a long time. It was finished a year and a half ago.
I think it matters when it was permitted.
Yes,
Okay,
Not my
when
mistake.
approved.
okay, all right, okay, well, I hope that there's
Okay.
no issues, because there are issues on McKay, that's for sure.
Thank you. Any further public comment? Okay, we're going to close public comment. Board comment. We can start to the left or right.
No comment.
Okay. Gentlemen?
Are the owners here?
Yes.
Come on up.
Yeah.
If you don't mind. And introduce yourself, that'd be great.
Mary Ann Rickey.
And Kyle Robertson.
Are you planning on living in the house? Is that
Yeah,
your guys' house?
absolutely.
Good.
Our family, our newborn baby, and we have a 5-year-old and a 3-year-old. We've been in the area for 10 plus years. Our kids go to school at Gulfstream.
Actually, our neighbor that we keep saying Kane got us in that school. So we met all the kids already and we're very excited.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, welcome you to Ocean Ridge. We're happy. When do you plan to start building and?
As soon as you let us.
Okay. And you're gonna be on the contractor to make sure he finishes so that we can have that family in there, right?
Absolutely.
And so what's the usage for the putting green? I just like to know that, so that we can come over and use the putting green.
Our kid's obsessed with golf
Yeah,
too.
I'm an avid golfer.
We named this kid Rory, so if
Good.
anybody knows golf, that's
Good.
why we have putting green.
Oh, that's sweet. Well, I just wanted to say hello and welcome you to
Thank
Ocean
you so
Ridge.
much.
Right, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, and thanks for investing in our town.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mark?
Yeah, I just, I'm very familiar with this neighborhood, I have a few friends that live in it, and it doesn't seem to be compatible to me, the design of this and the massing with what exists throughout that general area, within a block or two. So, for me, we're charged with the relationship of the building and the site and adjoining areas as part of board action requirements, number 2, part B. And then 3 and 4 say buildings should be consistent with the established neighborhood character or within acknowledged architectural styles. The height and scale of the proposed structure should be compatible with the surrounding neighborhood. And as I look at what's neighboring, I mean, it's a lot different. So if we're charged with these responsibilities and don't bring this up, I feel a little remiss. So, I'm sure it is beautiful, but it comes off to me as a little commercial and institutional in its design. And, you know, even looking at things like, you know, I see these huge, massive walls that come off in the backyard that look kind of like monoliths. And I just wonder how that fits in, and if you're the neighbor across from the canal, how you view that. Maybe it's an architectural statement, but, you know, and then I look at the eastern elevation and where all the equipment is, and the windows on the first and second floor. And they're just a running row of what I would probably see in an office building with elevated mechanical equipment. And if that's my backyard immediately adjacent to it, which I believe is Spanish River Drive. I don't think I like that view, but I'm just pointing these things out because these plans come to us and the review plans to go fairly quickly. So those are my comments.
I'd like to say I kind of feel the same way because we looked at a house at Hudson a few months back, right? And we kind of looked at the massing from the front and felt it was kind of inconsistent with the adjoining homes. And we asked the applicant at that point, could they soften it a little bit, right? I don't know if the board remembers that. And I felt from the front yard standpoint, like you, Mark, it feels a little institutional. Now, I know that's a design element, as you spoke about, but how do we make sure that there is a transition between the existing homes and these new homes being built? And I just felt the front facade of the building felt too strong and bold, given the adjoining properties. I drove by it on Sunday, and certainly when you're out in the field looking at it, everything looks very different. Now, this is a newer home. Some of the other homes have been there for a while. I recognize that, but I too felt that the massing of the front of this felt too strong, is my comment.
125 Spanish River Drive, which is right down the street from you guys, are very similar.
Yes.
So there is transition in the neighborhood.
There's transition, there's no question.
But then, where does that face? What is its rear? I mean, so
it's on the north side, so there is
there's nothing behind it, right? So I'm just thinking those neighbors across the short canal from here, what they're going to be looking at, as opposed to a situation like that one.
Therein lies the rub.
Yeah.
Anytime you start to get into tastes and characteristics and comparisons, I mean, I've been here 30 some years. And if we stuck to that standard, we would have a completely different look for the town. So, I mean, the tastes are changing. They're not necessarily my tastes, but they're changing. And this seems to be in concert with what those changes have been taking place. Now, the marketplace might disagree and not like it or like it. I don't know. The only thing that caught me, if you're talking about taste, was in the front wall, that one big square. That kind of hit me for some reason. But it is an architectural feature, and it is taste. And I am very reluctant because I guess I've been here long enough to know that I've heard people complain about tastes of homes only to fast forward 10 years and they all of a sudden like it. So it's interesting to have that discussion, but it's really difficult to enforce that discussion. Yes. Because I think this does keep in concert with what the changes are that are going on. Again, not necessarily to my personal taste, but doesn't necessarily mean that it's good or bad. I can understand because I think I made a comment about some of those other homes and softening those
Just-
walls.
That's, it's not a taste
And I
comment,
think.
it's a softening
And,
comment, right?
you know, whether I've noticed from the excellent presentation that you gave on the landscaping or you gave on the architectural, that the landscaping was intended to soften some of these features. Now, as the architect, considering what these things that we just mentioned, is there some way without, I don't want to interfere with the owner's desire to, and their taste and what they like, because it's a beautiful home. Let's not kid ourselves. It's a very nice home. Is there some way to look at that and say, well, you know what? Maybe some of these walls, maybe some of these windows, I know we've had architects in the past that have looked at that and said, you know what, you got a point. Do you feel that same way? I mean, is that something that can be done?
Yeah, I was actually speaking to the landscape designer before we presented quickly, and I felt that, in my opinion, with the critical perspective on this, we didn't add all the landscaping that Kelsey and her team had added in their landscaping plan, and I felt that was lacking in presenting the quality that we're trying to present for 44 Bimini.
In the renderings, it's not
Yes.
showing any of the landscaping.
So-
We're using very mature landscape. If you look at the gumbo limbos specified, I mean, these are not your standard gumbo limbos.
Yeah, what we've presented here in our renderings were just a small piece of what she's presenting in the landscape. So I think if we can resubmit renderings where we do show the true essence of what we're trying to add into the site, you'll see that some of these elements you probably won't even notice coming into the cul-de-sac, because we do have a very narrow entrance into the home, and it is going to be vastly landscaped with some of those beautiful landscapes that we already see on 44 Bimini. And that's what we're trying to maintain. We want our client to have this beautiful home that they've designed with us, but we still want to maintain the essence that the neighborhood has. We don't want to take that away. We understand there's been people who have lived there for many years. So we're trying to maintain that. And I think that's what you're pointing out that we already observed.
I do want to say I do walk by that property almost every day, and it is a very, very, very private, very narrow entrance. So there is a way of hiding a lot of the bulk, if you will.
I just want to add one quick comment. The owners expressed to us at the very onset of this project, and I know I'm speaking on their behalf.
She's saying yes.
Yeah, but they want this home to look like it's been there forever. So they made that point clear time and time again, and that's why they're going to spend the extra money on the landscape, because they want this landscape to resemble something you find in Coral Gables or those areas, where it's very mature landscaping going in at the time of planting. So this home looks like it's been here, 30 plus years. And I think given the very narrow opening as you're pulling up to this house and the amount of mature landscaping that they're willing to invest in, it's going to have a very soft, quaint feel as you're pulling up to this home.
If I may, I think I can address some of the issues that we were seeing in the render itself. So you did mention that square portion of the front facade. In our landscape plans, we do have a series of curved coconut palms that will be leaning in front of the facade itself in order to help soften the look of that volume in that particular area. As you come into the property, there's also those two gumbo limbos that are very mature. So those will be going in at 16 feet high, and then the coconuts themselves that are curved are 20 feet high. So there is a hierarchy of landscaping happening along the front facade itself, as well as that side facade that I heard mentioned earlier where the equipment is. So the equipment is getting screened by a 6 foot high photocarpus hedge, which is 6 foot high at the time of install, so fully covered from the adjacent property if you were, standing at grade level. And then to further cover some of that facade area from the neighbor's property, we are still using coconuts. We're using those throughout the landscape to maintain a harmonious feeling through the entire property. So in doing that, we hope that, we can provide the owners with some balance between the architecture as well as the city's overall goals.
Great. Thank you. I don't think we have any more public comment, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just gonna ask a question. If that's okay.
Oh, you have? Please come up if you wouldn't mind.
Were you sworn in?
Yeah, my name is Ray
Were you
Stone.
sworn in? Were you here at the beginning of the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, good.
You were sworn in? Did you?
Yeah, I was sitting in the back.
But you did swear in?
Yes.
Okay.
Ray Stone, 29 Luther Drive. Kyle, welcome to the neighborhood. I'm directly across from you. We've been there since 1968, just finished their second home. The only question I have is, will the wall on the water side be above the pool deck? Is there any wall that's going to go beyond the pool deck up on the waterfront side?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good. That's a good question, though. I mean, the seawall, I didn't look at, what's the height of the seawall? You're putting in a new seawall, right?
Yeah, so it's 6.5 at ABD. I'm sorry, 6.5 at ABD.
So what have we've been, just as a fair warning, I think we've been talking about having a minimum of 7 foot, right? Right, isn't that been the
You think it's
direction?
5?
What's that, 5?
Minimum of 5.
That now that we're saying 5?
The discussions we've been
The
having.
discussions were 5.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Do I hear a motion, commissioners?
I'll move to accept the proposal with the conditions outlined today concerning the landscaping engineering that you mentioned about pulling back the sod so it doesn't interfere with the drain outflow, whatever's there. Right?
I'll second that motion.
Plus the comments still remaining in the recommendation letter from the zoning official.
And I'd like to just add too, can we also incorporate in that some view of making sure there's the drainage, that drainage easement, is there a need for something there?
I think we should.
Before the house.
As we're reviewing this applicant.
Well, okay.
Yes.
I don't have a problem with that. I'll amend my motion to include that, but then we're going to discuss that.
Okay. Yes.
Is your second okay with that? You did the second, right?
Yes.
Okay, can we discuss
That's
that
further amended,
aspect?
I second.
Yes.
So, there's a town responsibility and a property owner's responsibility. And what I don't want to see is that these good folks are delayed in building their project because something that the town's responsible to do. So right now, is there landscaping over that drainage easement?
There's not on their side, but the other side, there's a hedge.
On the other side there is, but not, so on, given the motion that's been amended here, is there landscaping planned for that 5-foot easement?
No, we didn't allow them to put.
Okay, so that's clear. So it's open, good. So there's nothing to impede this, and I'm okay with that then. Good, thank you.
Do we hear, we have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passed.
Welcome to the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a beautiful home.
Thank you.
It is a really nice house. Feels like my neighborhood.
Okay,
Now the new house.
let's move on to the workshop discussion. Corey, excuse me, we're continuing our meeting, please, thank you.
Your baby was very quiet.
Well, it's right. It's a.
Good morning, Chair,
Morning.
board members, Corey Moore, Town Planner. This item is a continuation of the discussion from last meeting on the amendment to the town's comprehensive plan. The cover memo to this item includes a little bit of background that's follow-up from last month's meeting, the comments and questions that came up, and to try to address the comments and questions. What we've done is provide several things as backup material to the agenda item. One is the future land use map, which has been marked up to show where there is high-density zoning and where there's medium-density zoning. The high-density zoning is concentrated at the north end of the community, And the balance of the multifamily zoning is at the south end, just below that portion of high density. There's also provided as part of the backup material, the summary of comprehensive plan updates and directives, indicating the notification letter, additional statutory requirements and changes in local conditions. Also included a couple notes in red to indicate the background for how those amendments were formulated, why they were formulated. And we've also included the PDF version of the document itself, the amendments with strike through and underline, including the updated maps. So I'm hopeful that we've addressed all the questions and comments, at least from a perspective of providing that additional information. And what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Jim Fleischman. Jim will walk through that summary document with you and at least hit the highlights so that hopefully it will answer as many questions as possible. And obviously, if there are any additional questions or comments, we're happy to address them when Jim is finished. So, Jim.
Thank you, Corey. Good morning, members of the board.
Please just give your name.
Jim Fleischman, Land Research Management Consulting Firm in West Palm Beach.
Thank you.
As you all are well aware, this entire effort is based on a state mandatory requirement that municipalities in the state of Florida update their comprehensive plan once every 7 years. So this effort is in response to that state mandate. At the last meeting, we had a very brief discussion, and we were directed to at this current meeting to focus our comments on revisions and amendments to the goals, objectives, and policies of the comprehensive plan, as opposed to the data and analysis. In an effort to do that, we have enclosed two documents in your agenda package. The first document, which is on pages 46 through 54, is the document that I would like to concentrate our discussion on this morning, which focuses on the changes that you're proposing to the goals, objectives, and policies. The second document, which starts on.
Excuse me, I have 50.
50.
Starting at 50 through 124.
No. Yeah.
Well, okay.
I guess I have a preliminary version of it, I guess.
Well, as we're looking at the same thing, I mean, are we missing something or no?
No, I don't think so.
All right.
It starts with Corey's memo. Is that what we're starting point?
Yeah, the document that I want to try to concentrate on is titled Summary of 2024 Comprehensive Plan.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's about a 10-pager, which goes through those objectives and policies. Now, if you look at the first page of that document, it categorizes all of the amendments that we have made into three basic categories. The first category, the first requirement of the EAR, evaluation and appraisal report process, is to send a letter to the state itemizing the major issues that the town wants to address in the update. And then once we send that letter to the state, they send a letter back saying, okay, that's fine. Go ahead and concentrate on those items that you've identified. And in that notification letter, we essentially identified updating our plan in terms of Boynton Beach's water supply plan. And then the second item was to make sure that we have current language in there, in the plan regarding cooperation with other entities in terms of coastal management issues. The second category is titled Additional Florida Statutes Based Amendments. And looking at the Florida statutes, there really is only two basic requirements in the statutes that we have to meet. And the first is to update population projections and update the planning periods in the comprehensive plan. And then the second requirement is to update the data and analysis upon which the various elements of the plan are based. And we did go through some of that last time. Essentially was looking at items like I mentioned, population projections, traffic counts, infrastructure, demand projections based on the population projection. Those are all items that are in the plan document, but we were directed not really to focus on that because that's just data analysis. And then the third category, category C, is amendments based on local conditions. Now, in this document, we didn't really address in any detail item C, the changes in local conditions, because most of those are administrative, and I can just quickly run through what those are just to see if you have any questions on them. The first is basic format revisions that we made to the comprehensive plan. We added a much more detailed table of contents, including lists of maps and tables, which are not in the plan now. Those changes make the plan more usable to the town and its advisory board. The current plan here is 90 pages. Of that 90 pages, 46 of the pages are oriented to including Boynton Beach's water supply plan, word for word. Now, that's not something that we have to have in our plan. Now, there have been major revisions to the requirements for addressing water supply in the plan. So we can essentially take that entire section out of the town's comprehensive plan, reducing the size of the plan from around 90 pages to around 40 to 45 pages now. And it's not necessary for us to have that in the document anymore, so we're suggesting that be restricted, or be deleted, I should say.
But still referenced, I assume, right?
Well, yes, we have to work with Boynton Beach. The major change in the statutes is that we have to include all of the data and analysis, goals and objectives of the providers of water service to the town in our plan. They've taken that out. The only thing that we have to have in the plan now, which we will address as we talk about the changes in the goal and objective policies, is that we need to update the population projections, and we need to update our projections in terms of future potable water needs in terms of million gallons per day. Now, those are numbers that we will give to Boynton Beach when they're updating their water supply plan to make sure that they incorporate the town's needs in their plan. Now, the major emphasis in water supply planning now is to require the providers of potable water to prepare water supply plans, not necessarily all of the receivers. We're a receiver, we need to make sure that they include our needs in their plan, and we need to coordinate with them, and that's really all we have to do now, as opposed to including their water supply plan in our document. So it makes our document much more usable and readable and shorter. So we've also incorporated a town serving recreation facilities map in the recreation element, which is not in the plan now. We have removed the requirement for having a 5-year schedule of capital improvements in the capital improvements element. It's no longer mandated that we include a schedule of improvements in the comprehensive plan as long as the town has a schedule of improvements process associated with their annual budget process, which the town does. And that makes amending the comprehensive plan much easier because the 5-year schedule of improvements is supposed to be looked at every year, which the town does in its budget. If we left that in the comprehensive plan, that would mean that we would have to do a comprehensive plan amendment every year. So that requirement is now removed, provided that the town incorporates that in its budget process, which the town does. So that eliminates the potential for the town having to amend the comprehensive plan quite often, as much as every year. And okay, the other item that I just wanted to mention, which we did go over a little bit last time, is the fact that we updated all of the data and analysis tables, and we also relocated several of the tables in their various elements to make them more consistent and readable with the text. The only other possible local revision that I can think of at this point was the fact that there was discussion of looking at the future land use element, where we have one residential land use category, and making it more consistent with the town's zoning, which essentially has like a medium and a high. The town's zoning map is included in the backup for this meeting, and it would be a relatively simple task for us to use that as the basis to amend the comprehensive plan future land use map to reflect the zoning map. That seems to be the direction that the board was leaning at our last meeting. So just want to let you know that we have that. We can make that change before it goes to the council if directed. So, okay, back to that first page on the summary of 2024 comprehensive plan updates and directives. That I just covered category C, and back to category A, and those are the amendments that related to the issues that we identified in the back and forth letter with the state that set the basic direction for the comp plan amendments. Now, if you go to the next page, Roman numeral 2, notification letter amendments. The first section, which includes policies 1.1.3 through 1.3.3 through 1.3.6 are all amendments that we need to make as essentially justification for us taking all of the Boynton Beach water supply plan out of the comprehensive plan. They're essentially direction for the town to participate with Boynton Beach in the preparation of its plan, and for the town to provide the Boynton Beach with the necessary documentation. Pretty simple policies, but as I said, that's the basis for taking the Boynton Beach plan out of our plan. And I think that probably the way to go through this, if you want to take a look at those 4 policies and see if you have any questions related to those, we can run through this.
Any questions on that? No. Right, looks pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
We have a 10-year agreement with Boynton Beach. Is that, and when does that begin and end? Does anyone know?
Well, the original was 30 from 1990, so it must have started
Yeah,
in
so that
2020.
that's a big question of mine. It just kind of stops. It says, this kind of goes year to year, or how does the agreement has expired in 2020. So what, how do we work today? And
I think if I remember right, the agreement has a statement in there that it can continue as long as one of the 2 parties doesn't want to end it.
I'm just asking our staff, because it just seems kind of, that's a pretty big deal for our town.
What's done in the past, right? I just noticed that, Gulfstream is entering into an agreement with Boynton Beach, right?
Yeah, the beauty about owning your own water distribution, we own the pipes, we own all of that. So we get to control theoretically where we get our water. So it's historically been a great relationship with Boynton, and we've looked at this several times. We've looked at on the north end, maybe partnering with Manalapan. We even examined having our own water supply, which foolishly we rejected getting our injections, which was, in retrospective, not a wise move. A while ago, we had the chance. We're sitting below a very deep aquifer that we had the chance to get our own fresh water supply. And the powers to be at that time felt that it wasn't necessary. In retrospect, that was not a good move. But regardless, it is what it is. I mean, I think, what is it? There are renewal terms for pricing and for other things, but is it a 5 or 10 year renewal process?
I'm going to look it up right now. I'll be able to tell you more, but I believe there is also an extensive period of if they ever wanted to terminate.
Right.
So we would have sufficient notice to terminate. But I'm going to look it up right now so I can give you guys specifics on that.
Thank you.
There is some case law, which the town attorney probably is well aware of, that does, because we don't have a real source of water, that Boynton can't just shut us off.
Yes.
So there's case law that's pretty strong about that. So
Do we have an alternative source of water, do you know, Ken?
It would only be if we decided to try to get it from Manalapan on the north end, if they had the size pipes.
Right.
Other than that,
We don't have a backup.
We do not have a backup.
Right, which just sounds like Gulfstream's going to remain, Delray will remain a backup to Delray.
They fed
They
Delray
fed it.
and Boynton fed Gulfstream,
Right.
so they're just deciding to go with Boynton.
Yes.
And Boynton's done a great job, so it's I have no complaints, and personally. But.
Okay. Thank you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Continue, please.
Yeah, that's fine. Like I said, what I'm proposing is that we go through these different policy changes by category, and if you have any questions, we'll try to respond to them. And like I said, these four policies really are just oriented to making sure that the town coordinates with Boynton Beach.
So towards that end, so we can cut to the chase on some of this. So this is a summary and matches up to the back, right? So some of the things that were concerning the water were, I noticed that there was a reduction in the usage that you're proposing. And I'm just curious, where did these numbers come from?
Yeah.
And why?
Yeah. I was going over that myself the other day. The reason the reason for the reduction is that in the current comprehensive plan, or in one of the other sources that I said, or that I read, that was an objective of the town to recognize that the per capita consumption rate at this point was 175, and that it was to be reduced to 133 by the year 2025. So on that basis, I took that as direction to make that change.
I don't agree with that change.
Well,
Let me just say that for the record. I don't think that's something wise for us to do.
And I agree. The more I got thinking about it, the more I agree with it, because that was there really was not a discussion of what the basis for that was, and really we should keep our current level until Boynton Beach updates its water supply plan, which the Water Management District just updated theirs this past fall. Boynton Beach has 18 months to come up with its update, within which it'll look at water demands for the town. So I totally agree. I think that we should change that back to the 170.
So I think across the board, there are several references. So my suggestion is we do not reduce any of them across the board. So I don't think it's wise on our part.
You're just talking about water, right?
Water, as it relates to
sure,
water.
Yeah.
So there's different references that all tie together.
I make sure that, we make those changes, and I totally agree with that. I mean, I made the change based on that other source that I read, where I got thinking about it, that I didn't necessarily agree with that we should do it. So
What was that source again?
I'm not sure if it's, I think it's in the water supply plan that we're taking out of the document is principally Boynton Beach's. Up front of that, there's a water supply plan of the town, which we don't have to do anymore either. And if I recall properly, it's in that document, which is in the comprehensive plan now. And it doesn't necessarily give a basis for that.
So the current plan is a 175? Current comprehensive plan?
The current plan is 175, but it says it needs to be reduced to 133 by a certain date, which has either come up and passed, or we're going to be approaching it shortly, putting us within our current proposed long-range planning period.
That seemed to be a staff request?
I don't know where it came from though, so it doesn't really matter. As far
Well,
as
yeah,
I'm
it
concerned,
does.
I wouldn't change.
It does matter.
Why?
Because it's 131 in here. How do we go from 175 to 130?
No, we're not. I'm saying.
Well, I
not
know,
to.
but how did it go there? in this plan. That's what I'm questioning, right?
Okay.
Who made that decision? Well, that's a big decision.
That, I don't know. I mean, I take it you.
I'm not pointing at you, I'm just wondering.
Did you assume that? I mean, that's what I gathered from what your statement was, is you were reading things and then came up with that conclusion, correct?
Yeah, I was reading that direction.
Whose direction? Well, that's what he's
He doesn't
asking.
know.
Who gave you that direction?
Like I said, I think it's in the town's water supply plan, it's in the current plan. Okay, and it says it's 175 now, however, we want to reduce it to 131, 133 by a certain date. Okay, that date has either come and passed, or it's within our long-range planning period that we're putting in the plan now. So on that basis, I changed it, but I agree with you that we should keep it at 175, give that to Boynton Beach, and then have to assess that as part of their water supply plan update, because they're the ones that they're going to be looking at needs and capacity and future demands.
So just for the commission's benefit, Terry might recall, we used to have some water wars back. So we gotta be very careful about any time we box ourselves in and limit what we do, because it's come up in the past, and so we gotta be really cognizant of that. If we get to it,
Then you,
great.
yes.
But to purposely box ourselves in could hurt us.
I don't, can I comment? Is this public comment section?
No.
No.
Well,
It's my fault, I called your name.
I was encouraged to keep quiet regarding.
Okay, sit down.
With the review, Cherry Brown Hubbard, I stopped, but I agree with your comments, Ken, and that's good.
See, we do have a kindred
I mean, I moved
spirit.
here 33 years ago, and that's when they were doing the water pipes, with G and Jensen and those folks. But I don't agree with removing anything from the comp plan, no matter how thick and long it is, regarding water supply from Boynton Beach. You are going to risk, some kind of hazard in terms of, you'll always get water from Boynton, I think, but you could get involved with the restriction of flow. They turn the faucet down and say you only can use this amount of water. Anything related to water supply, since that's a vital utility for us, should be kept in the plan. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep going, please.
Yeah. Are there any more questions on those?
No.
Four policies. Okay, the next section under notification letter amendments starts with a couple pages of proposed revisions to the town's coastal management element. And those revisions are all oriented to maintaining the town's level of coordination and participation in coastal management programs by the surrounding municipalities, Palm Beach County, the Regional Planning Council, and the state of Florida. There's nothing dramatic in here in my mind. It just sort of updates the policies and adds a couple to be a little bit more specific in terms of coordination, for example, with the Regional Planning Council and specific Palm Beach County departments.
And these, of course, your red note on the side, this is staff has been a big participant in this process.
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah, Lisa Tropepi was in all of the meetings with us on this particular issue.
Corey, you were in part of those meetings as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And do you have any comments to this at all, Corey?
No, I don't.
Okay. Commissioners? Section 2, do you have any notification letter amendments, any comments there?
Nope.
Move to section 3.
Yeah, that's additional Florida statutes based amendments. And really the basis for these amendments were updates in the data and analysis, like I said, population projections, traffic projections provided by DOT, and any other direction that we came across that should be incorporated in here. And this particular section talks essentially about the basis for some of the changes at the start of this section. And then when we get through that, let's see, if you can go to the page that starts out with revisions to the future land use element. Sorry, I have different page numbers. Yeah, page 55.
65.
You're on deleted.
You're still on section 3. You're
Section 3, right?
Yeah.
On page 57 on goals, objectives, policies.
Found it. I don't know how I got a different number system.
That was the one that I sent to you before it was incorporated into the agenda packet.
Okay. And starting on page 57, then we go through each of the elements in the comprehensive plan that we have proposed changes to goals, objectives, and policies.
Future land use, transportation, housing, right?
I just have a question on the housing.
Yeah.
Sure.
Modular homes.
Right.
I didn't know I just didn't realize we allowed manufactured or modular homes.
Not manufactured.
Well, no, it's crossed out,
Yeah.
right? So you're changing from manufactured to modular. We don't have any in town currently. I'm concerned, are we allowed to eliminate them altogether?
Well, the reason they're in there is
The state requires it.
Does the state require us to allow modular homes?
No, it doesn't. The overriding document, as far as housing goes, is the building code. And modular homes, according to your staff, can be approved under the town's building code.
Okay.
And modular homes are essentially factory built.
Right.
Manufactured homes are mobile homes.
Right.
Okay, so
Frame-based. Right.
There's a distinct difference there. Okay, modular homes, as long as they meet the town's building code, could be approved.
Similar to that house, the home that was brought before us, that could have been manufactured in that fashion.
Modular home.
The architect might take some exception to that.
Well, no, we added on some things that enhanced it.
That block.
It's becoming more commonplace, and as Mark, as you know, it's been used now in the multifamily world.
It's a lot cheaper.
Extensively, right? And so, and they've got it to where they can facade it and make it look good, believe it or not, right? So it's interesting. Okay, as we keep going, any comments further, guys, as we go through this?
What would a hurricane do to it?
Well, they're very,
They're pretty,
Oh,
they're
solid.
pretty
Very
good.
good. They're
They're
better.
more substantial.
they're concrete.
Hell, even the manufactured homes today are better than they were, I mean, down in Briney. But, anyway. Yeah, but I'm just saying, generally, even the manufactured homes have increased quite a bit. Their sustainability.
Yeah, and that really, starting with the goals and objectives, under the heading of future land use, where we run through each of the elements, that's essentially, as far as the amendments of goals and objectives policies.
Okay.
And, you know, I don't believe that there's any earth-shaking changes or additions that are going to cause any issues.
Yeah.
Okay. Great, thank you. Did we talk about the previous meeting about the zoning, the high density versus the medium
Carolyn brought
density?
that up, yeah.
Didn't we cover that as well in the previous meeting? And was there a discussion as to trying to, was it to make it all medium density, to I don't want to say remove the high density, but remove the high density zone? Do you remember
Mr.
that,
Chair,
Christie?
Yeah, as I recall, the conversation came up from Commissioner Carolyn Cassidy, who made the comment. So currently, in the existing comprehensive plan, it has two types of land use designation for residential, single and multifamily. The single is, the multifamily is a maximum of 10 units per acre. In our land development regulations, it splits multifamily into medium density and high density. Medium density goes up to 5 units per acre. High density is to the max of 10 units per acre. So the point that Commissioner Cassidy was making was perhaps we should, in our comprehensive plan, make it clear that medium density, that there is a medium density and it's limited to 5 units per acre. And the discussion that we had was, in some respects, a legal conversation, because the question I always get is, could we do a referendum that would limit the ability for high density in a city? And there's a Florida statute that prohibits you from using a referendum process to put something in your charter that really should be something in your comprehensive plan. So the putting in your comprehensive plan ensures that all development must comply with it, because you cannot conflict with the comprehensive plan. If you put in your comprehensive plan, the town commission has always a legislative decision whether or not to change its comprehensive plan. So if someone came in and say they acquired several parcels in your medium density area and they said, hey, we want to do a high density project here, they would have to do a comprehensive plan amendment if that density is recognized in your comprehensive plan.
It's another level of.
So it's an additional level, and with a legislative decision, the town commission has more discretionary ability to say whether or not it's a benefit to the town. So it just gives you one more level of protection from someone, putting together several parcels and then saying, hey, we want to put a large condo in a medium density area that would have a high density impact.
Do we think this map protects us in that regard? Because it's.
Is this the zoning map or the
Yeah.
future land use map?
This is the future land use map,
No,
So the future land use map currently just identifies the two types of residential density, your single family and your multifamily. It doesn't distinguish between.
It says high density.
Right, I think that's what Corey was pointing out in those little boxes, looking at the future land use map, where the actual zoned areas, the zoning districts within a town. So you have, in your comprehensive plan, you have your land use designation. Right now, single family, multifamily. Then down in our land development regulations, you have 3 residential districts. You have single family, you have medium, and then you have high. So what Corey is showing here is on your future land use map, which is in the comprehensive plan, what these areas are zoned in our land development regulations. So one consideration would be to amend the comprehensive plan to identify that we have a residential medium density and put a limit on that density consistent with current in your land development regulations. That way, if anyone ever wanted to go to a higher density and medium density districts, they would have to do a comp plan amendment and a zoning district amendment.
Does this accommodate that?
I don't think this, I think, no, this doesn't, because we would have to actually do it in a text amendment in the
Are we
proposed.
doing that?
At your direction.
I thought we just, we wanted that the last meeting, yeah. Was to clearly identify those areas that we would land use for.
Medium density.
Multifamily medium and multifamily high, right? Just so we didn't run into this issue.
And we're happy to do that. What we wanted to try to do with this meeting was to illustrate what that would do. And what I tried to do with the map that is up on the screen is really just show where we would need to amend the future land use map. So where you see the notations that say zoned RMM, which are at the south end of town on the left-hand side of the screen, and in the center by town hall, those are zoned RMM now. The portion to the north on the right-hand side is the residential high density. So we would just need to create a new future land use designation, or probably create two, and eliminate the multifamily, do a medium density multifamily and a high density multifamily, consistent with the zoning designations. And we can certainly do that. We could have the map revised formally and not just a markup that I do using Adobe, and identify it in some of the text in the comprehensive plan.
Medium would be 5 and high would be 10.
Yes, sir.
Pick a nice color though, Corey, please.
Yeah. Yeah, real bright red for the high density. Something softer for the medium. But no, that would be great. I think I'd feel more comfortable having that.
I just have a color clarification. I just want to make sure that this is very clear, because it's not separately designated. Over there by the public where the town hall sits, behind us or to the north, there's some shaded area next to the PC. Without particularly calling out those properties, I want to make sure, is that single family zone? I think the answer is yes, by the way. But the fact that you even questioned it, I want to make sure if we could put that on there. And Chris, you might agree with me. I think we had to be absolutely certain, clear what that designation is, okay?
Right, one thing to note is, there is, where the P is and town hall sits, a couple parcels to the north, there's an oval parcel. That oval parcel should now be PC, because that's a county parcel. And 2 years ago, when the town bought the Priest property, which is actually up to the west north corner of that PC, the county rezoned that parcel to PC, so that's gonna be green.
So this little middle half
piece,
moon.
right,
Okay.
is green, because that's a county parcel. So,
It's gotta be accurate, was it?
yeah,
We're all
yeah,
saying it's
and
gotta be
we'll make
totally
that
accurate.
change, so.
Any other comments, Commissioner?
I just have one, and I'm not sure if it's in sequence, but for the private package wastewater plant service areas, there is one more, and that is at Ocean Harbor Estates, and it's not indicated, so you might want to just add it.
I'm sorry, did you look at that?
Yeah, so, if you go to map 3, private package wastewater plant service areas, and you list 11 communities.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a 12th.
Oh.
Yeah, and that's called Ocean Harbor Estates.
We could just turn that one off, can't we, Mark?
Yeah, sure.
They like that.
Ship it your way.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further comments?
Yeah, good question. Thank you, Jim. And where is Ocean Harbor Estates on that? I'll show you. Okay. Thank you.
Well, do we have a motion to approve the draft amendment? It's going to be sent, with our comments,
With their comments.
being sent to the town commission?
I so move.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Is that it? We're done
That was a
with the
nice change
comprehensive
compared to
plan?
the first draft, by the way.
Yes, sir.
That's it, we're
So
done.
we still need a hearing.
Oh, we need to have a hearing. One more? Public hearing or something?
Well, it all depends on how this is advertised. Now, are you sitting as the LPA, right, local planning agency? right now?
Did you notice the meeting as such?
No, because we haven't said anything.
Okay.
I think our plan was to always do that and approve it in January and then move on to give it to the,
Yeah, there needs to be an advertised public
I will not be here in
hearing.
January,
As the
Kelly.
local planning agency.
Okay. And then we send it up to the commission.
So we'll try to, we'll plan to bring those changes to you at your January meeting, including the map changes, ensure that everything's correct. Advertise it for public hearing as the LPA, and then send it on to the town commission.
Great.
And that's still good timing for the commission to get
Yes,
it
sir.
Oh, yeah.
approved.
And so at the next, just maybe, because it's a public meeting, we'd be very succinct in our presentation. Move it along.
I like it. Yeah. Commissioner comments? Neil? Mark?
No, sir.
Mhm. Ken?
Thank
Ken?
you.
Oh, boy.
I make a
Oh,
motion to adjourn.
geez.
You gotta-
I like that.
Seconded.
Adjourn the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you
everyone.
very
Thanks.
much.
Yep.
Thank you.
Pardon? Yes. To adjourn?
I don't get this abuse.
Okay, we're not abusing it.
I'm gonna miss